Hey everyone, it's been a few days since I posted a video, reason being that it's been a very busy weekend. I've been away this weekend with the Paddy Maguire band, having a great time doing some gigs and having a lot of laughs. But also I have a new single coming out, available for download as from the 2nd of February, which also happens to be my birthday. And I've been busy making a video to promote that with, so my iPad and my iPhone have been taken over by the video that I shot, all the bits of video I shot to edit together to make the promotional video for the new track. So more about the track soon in a later video, but that video is now complete and it's uploaded to YouTube, but is not yet made public. I'll do that when the single is actually ready. So it's been a lot of fun putting these videos out and getting messages suggesting things I could talk about, questions people are curious to get answered. The most common question that I'm getting in from quite a few sources at the moment is, how do I manage to be so busy with gigs, and how do I manage to do that and not have diary clashes? How do I manage the diary? How do I keep all the bands happy? So I'm going to answer that, but in time, because what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd do a little video for each band that I'm in, explaining about that particular band. And I'm going to start off with the Paddy Maguire band, and the reason for that is because where I'm at now with the work I do with bands, which is a very happy place to be in. I arrived at as a result of meeting Paddy Maguire. So let me just explain that, if I can. So about 4 years ago-ish, I was playing in a band, and there was never really quite enough gigs, so not really quite enough money, and I wasn't really enjoying playing in that particular band. Not really the fault of anyone in particular in the band. I don't really have anything negative to say about that band. Just it wasn't really what I wanted to be doing, and I was doing it because I did music for a living, and you know, at the time that was the band that was needing a player, and so that was my gig. And when you do it for a living, you kind of have to find the band, or at least this is the way I used to think, right? I would try and join a band that had enough gigs, that paid enough money, and so I just wasn't really very happy. I arrived at a point where I said to the missus, you know, I do music for a living primarily because I love it, and I'd been in the past successful enough to be able to justify doing that, but I'd arrived at a point where I wasn't looking forward particularly to going to gigs. It wasn't exciting me anymore, and I'd always said that if I arrived at that point, I was going to pack in and go and get a straight job and do music just purely for enjoyment, and become sort of a semi-pro player again, like I used to be many moons ago. So when I told her this, she said, no, you can't do that, because the way that our life is structured, we've got kids, and so the missus works in the day and I look after the kids, and then she comes home, and then I can teach, gig, do whatever music work I have on. She said, you've got to make it work. So I didn't know how I was going to do that. But then I got a phone call from a guy called Lincoln Roth, who is a stunning bass player. He's a much better bass player than me, actually. And he'd been offered a gig he couldn't do, and so he wanted to offer it my way. And what he said was, he said, there's a band that should be touring in Holland in a couple of days' time. The tour's booked and everything, and the band have dropped out, all except for the drummer. And the drummer is the guy who's responsible for booking the tour, and he wants to honour it. He wants to go. He wants to go and play these gigs and not let anyone down. He said he's got Paddy Maguire on board, and they just need a bass player to go and complete a three-piece lineup and just go out there and jam out some songs. Now, I didn't know Paddy at the time. I knew who he was. I'd heard of him. He's, for anyone who doesn't know, Paddy's guitar player, frontman, singer type dude. So I thought, well, that sounds exciting. That sounds like fun. I could do with a bit of that. So I said, yeah, I'll go. So there wasn't going to be any time to learn any songs or do any preparation or anything, because the first gig was in the UK. The first gig was the next day, and then after that we were going out to Holland. So it was just a case of just go and meet Paddy and Pete the drummer and do a gig. And that's exactly what I did. I went to the first gig, drove down, said hello, did the introductions thing, we set up, and when it was time to go on, Paddy just started playing some chords and shouted across to tell me what key we were in, and I just jammed along, and so Paddy just did some tunes, and we made it up as we went along, and it was tremendous. I'd jammed before, obviously, but I'd never jammed to that sort of extent. I'd never done anything that was quite so fly by the seat of the pants, and musically it was just so much fun. I'd done a lot of club bands for a few years leading up to that, and a lot of it had been very, backing track based and exactly the same format, exactly the same every night. And this was just like completely wild and free, and challenging, challenging as a player to kind of be flying by the seat of the pants for the whole gig. Superb. And also on a personal level, we got on great, had a good laugh. Paddy turned out to be a really funny, really nice guy. Paddy's always up. He's always positive and a great guy to be around. So then, we went out to Holland, and this fun, musically and personally, continued for the whole time that we were in Holland. And when we came back, we were on our way back, and Paddy mentioned to me that he might be needing a bass player for his band soon. And I was thinking, well, I don't know how I can do that, because I'd really like to be in Paddy's band, but Paddy's not interested in being like full-time. He didn't want to have like a really, really busy diary. He likes to gig, he likes to work, but I need lots of work because it's my job. So I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but I kind of kept that in mind and went home, and all I could think about the whole time was, I want my job to be that much fun all of the time. And bearing in mind that there was this kind of offer that maybe a bit further down the line I'd be in Paddy's band, I thought I need to find a way to make that work, because I want to do that. And so, of course, I did make that happen. And the way I did it was by, I was already doing a little bit of teaching, and I decided I needed to build that up. So when I got back from Holland, I continued playing in the club band, but I was building up the teaching gradually, bit by bit. And you know, teaching, you don't get, you can put adverts out there, but you get very little from that, or at least I've found you get very little from that. You get students, you get new students from word of mouth. You do a good job, keep doing a good job, and people will recommend you. And a recommendation is worth more than the best advertising in the world. So anyway, that's a little sidestep, but yeah, I built up the teaching, and I also formed and joined other bands that fitted around being in Paddy's band. And gradually I put all these things together so that I was able to join Paddy's band. So one of the key things that made all that work, Paddy had this idea when I ultimately joined his band, that we should have a shared Google Calendar. So we, all of us in the band, have a Google Calendar, and we all put on it, you know, when we're busy, and so I can put on, you know, any dates I've got with other bands. People can put on there, you know, if they're just not free, and then let's say, for instance, I get an offer for a gig for the Paddy band. I'll look in my diary on my iPhone, which is, you know, everything that comes up in my iPhone diaries, on my iPad diaries, on my laptop diary, everything's connected by this Google Calendar situation, which is incredibly easy to set up. I could just look in my diary and I can see whether or not everybody in the band is free on that date. And as long as everyone keeps their calendar up to date, it works. And usually everybody does, surprisingly. And yeah, so that's one of the things that's made it work. But there are many great things about being in the Paddy Maguire band. One of which is when after a few months had passed, we were asked if we'd like to go back to Holland, and Paddy said that he was going to bring the missus, that the missus is a great singer. So the missus went with us the second time, Jenna, who is a stunning, absolutely world-class, amazing vocalist. So you've got Paddy, who's a tremendous guitar player, but not just a tremendous guitar player, but also an extremely entertaining guitar player. He knows how to get an audience going, he knows how to work the crowd. And he has this huge charisma that just sells it, you know. So he's showboating on the guitar, and he's perfectly capable of doing lead vocals for a whole gig himself. But then you bring the missus into the mix, who's kind of a Janis Joplin-y kind of a big powerhouse singer, who's also has a huge personality, and the crowd love her. And we've had a few drummers actually, but we now have Mr. Tim Gillespie on drums, who this works well for me because Tim's in a couple of other bands with me, which I'll talk about in later videos. Tim is a great singer in his own right, and so now we have the harmonies in the band, which is something we've not had before, and it's something we're currently working on bringing more in. And he's a great player, he's a great improvisational player, and he can jam. He's got a lot of chops, can play a lot of different styles of music. And most importantly, everybody in the band is just a really nice, easy to get along with, down-to-earth person. I've never had an argument, confrontation, even like a little bit of a tiff with anyone involved in this band. And it's been a few years now. And there's not many bands you can say that for, really. We just enjoy each other's company, have a great time all of the time. And so now I have, with this band and with other bands I'm in, but with this band in particular, because this was the inspiration for what I've done since. I'm in a band that we just really, really enjoy each other musically, and behind the scenes as well, if you like. And I really, really encourage anybody who's working in bands, whether it be full-time, semi-pro, or just for a laugh, work with people that you like. Don't just, if you're in a situation where you're just not enjoying going to gigs because you're working with someone that you don't particularly like, it's never going to work out in the end. You know, we do this for enjoyment. There's not a lot of music, there's not a lot of money in the music business anymore. And like the way I look at it is, you know, I'm not likely to become, you know, the next big thing or go join Bon Jovi or something like that. You know, it's my aims are, I want to make music. I love music. I still love making, creating, playing music. I love playing to audiences, and I want to enjoy doing that. I want to have fun and no stresses with the people that I work with, and I want to make enough money that I can look after my family and not worry too much about any bills and stuff, and justify still doing this for a living. So this is where I've arrived at now with this, and as I continue this this little series of videos about the bands I play for, I think it will come more and more to light how being where I am now and making this work is very much as a result of meeting Mr. Paddy Maguire and his wonderful wife Jenna, so thanks very much, Paddy and Jenna, for kind of making a big change in my life and sort of revitalising the whole music business thing for me. I think I'll leave that video there. When I've shown you, this is actually a Paddy Maguire Band t-shirt. More about t-shirts next video. And damn tambourine, I really should move this tambourine before I start making videos. And you can check out the band on the Paddy Maguire Band website. Cheers, thanks for watching. Send more questions in. See you soon.